Now let's look at the cold water supply for your plumbing load data. You'll see that there are fixtures. Lavatories are basically places where you wash your hands, a sink. CW is cold water. HW is hot water. Now we're using what's called point of use, where you just heat up the hot water right there. So whatever we put in for the cold water, we're going to add in for the hot water because it's really cold water. Water closet is a toilet. A hose bib is where you hook in a hose and turn it on and get water out. A sink is more like where you would clean a mop or fill a bucket or something like that. You have some equipment that you use and you've got your parts washer. So each of those has something called a standard fixture unit. And we use that instead of GPM in case we want to use part of it part of the time. So, but this is for when it's wide open. And so we don't always use it wide open. But when we're doing um, a demand analysis, we're going to say that every piece of equipment is all the way open all the time. And during lab, if you remind me, I'll tell you a story about that where I actually had to go um, into Tennessee to fix a problem like that. So you can ask me about that. So a fixture unit is how many gallons per minute come out of that fixture when you have the tap wide open at normal operating pressure. And that normal pressure is 22.5 pounds per square inch. Now, usually we get more than that, but that's how we calculate. Okay. So 22.5 psi in your pipes. You open the handle on your lavatory, your sink, and some amount of water comes out. That's called a fixture unit. And there's standards for that. So then you multiply that by how many lavatories you've got, and that's your total fixture units that are going to flow through the pipes to get to that. And we're going to pretend that these are all at the very end of the line and they're all going to add up. And you'll see why we do that later on. Okay. So let's go ahead and find out what that is. We'll look at our standard fixture unit, cold water supply fixture unit chart. And you can see, let's look at a lavatory, one fixture unit. And these would be considered private installations, so you can use those ones. One fixture unit. So I'll have one fixture unit of cold water, one fixture unit of hot water, and I think I've got two of those because there's two bathrooms. And so it equals how many I've got times how many comes out of each one. So those are going to add up to 4. And remember, a fixture unit is 1 gallon per minute for us. And then we can look up other things like water closets. Where did it go? A water closet with a flushometer. That's that thing when you push the handle, it goes instead of just like a little tank fill. 2.5 fixture units. Now that's not how much water comes out all total because it's only on for a little bit. But that's going to be 2.5 and there's two of them and so on and so forth. You're going to add all those up. And in your grand total, you're going to find the sum of all of those. Now, what I want you to do is for the hose bib, because we're going to be doing we got to fill up the pool. And so we're going to use the hose bib as 10 gallons per minute. Okay, to fill up that big pool with. So those will be 10 gallons per minute, 10 fixture units. And then you have some other stuff, your fume hood and your parts washer and all that other kind of stuff. Probably going to add up to something. And you can look them up and put some numbers in if you want. So I'm going to put one of those in. And so you're going to have some number here. So once you find out how much water you're going to use, you have to figure out how big your pipe is to get the water there. Now, we're going to do, again, we're just looking at things. It won't really be this big of a pipe, but we're going to say if I've got that much water going through 1-inch pipe all the way to the end. So I've got like 40 feet along the back, 40 feet down there, and then into the bathroom. So let's say that I've got some, you have to get this off of Revit. You have to actually dimension from some corner where your water is going to come in and then over. So I'm going to pretend I've got 100 feet. Okay. And now I have to find out how much pressure I lose in 100 feet if I have 19 gallons a minute running through it and I have 1-inch pipe. Well, I've given that to you. Lo and behold, I've got 1-inch pipe friction loss. And you're going to see it only goes up to 16. So it's just totally not applicable. It's just no good. I'm just going to put some dashes there. It won't work. It just doesn't do it. So let's try 1.25 inches. That's good. So it's going to be between one of these, 0.033 to 0.044 PSI for every foot. And I've got 100 feet. So if I've got 100 feet of 1.25 inches and it's 0.044, is that what my number was? 0.044? 0.044. And my total loss, if it's 0.044 PSI for every foot, and if I've got 100 of them, it equals 100 times that. I'm going to lose 4.4 PSI of pressure from where it comes into my building to 100 feet away where all that stuff is. Okay, let's see what happens if I get 1.5-inch pipe. 1.5-inch pipe. And at 0.017. Now you have to do all of your own calculations. I'm just showing you how to do it. You have to find out the length and you have to figure out what your grand total is. So these numbers that I'm using here are not the numbers you're going to use. Here I lose 1.7 PSI. So that's good. So, and then you'll go all the way through, get this all the way filled out. We're pushing your grand total of water all the way through the building to a point at the end. They call that a critical path. Okay. And now there's another funny thing. It's called, that's the pressure drop in your pipe. Now, fixtures have a pressure drop. So when I flush a water closet and it's got a flushometer on it, it automatically drops my pressure 15 PSI. That's just good information to have. So there we go. That's how you do your cold water supply load demand.